California names Vetro the system of record for the nation's largest middle-mile fiber network project. A huge investment in lit communities by Oak Hill Capital. A new director for the American Association for Public Broadband, and a look at the BBC Summit 2023. Those stories and more on This Week in the Broadband Universe. Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Craig Corbin. One of the most notable broadband industry conferences of the year took place this week, the Broadband Community's BBC Summit 2023, held at the Woodlands Waterway Marriott Hotel and Convention Center just north of Houston, Texas. The conference featuring an action-packed agenda, including a number of press conferences with major industry announcements, the premiere of a documentary film on the Utopia Fiber story, Vendor Expo, and an amazing number of quality keynote speakers and panel discussions. One of the most well-attended sessions was entitled Mapping and Fabric Data Confronting the Mess. Moderator Scott Woods, president of Public-Private Partnerships for Ready.net, rode herd on a lively conversation.
But again, let me push you on that, because I think we're how do you reconcile?
Come on, push me on.
Come on, Reverend.
Can I push back?
Yes, you can, absolutely. How do we reconcile the fact that community anchor institutions aren't reflected?
Do what?
Community anchor institutions and MDUs aren't accurately reflected in the map.
The panel featured an all-star lineup with Jim Stegman, president of CostQuest Associates, Jerry Lawler, CEO of Hexvarium, Jim Price, vice president of Government Solutions for Lightbox, and Ready.net chief executive officer Jace Wilson. Lawler touched on a common concern about broadband data mapping and the forthcoming BEAD funding.
The bigger challenge is the money actually going to find its way to the right location, right? And what is our degree of confidence that the right mix of capital will come together? Because no matter how you look at it, the BEAD fund is not going to be enough.
I'll have additional coverage of the BBC Summit 2023 on the next edition of the Broadband Universe podcast series. One of the biggest announcements made during the BBC Summit came from Vetro, the Portland, Maine-based cloud-native mapping and fiber management platform provider that's been selected as the system of record for California's 10,000-mile fiber network project. That's the largest middle-mile fiber network project in the nation. Vetro FiberMap will identify, map, and manage every single strand of fiber in the statewide open-access broadband network, made possible after California Senate Bill 156 was signed into law in 2021. Big investment news this week as Oak Hill Capital has committed $150 million in primary capital to Lit Communities, a company that uses public-private partnerships to bring fiber networks to unserved and underserved communities. Currently, Lit has projects in place, under construction, or planned in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Texas, and is currently serving roughly 20,000 homes and businesses. The investment is expected to help Lit reach more than 200,000 homes over the next few years. The investment by Oak Hill Capital, a continuation of its deep involvement in the telecommunications sector. Last July, the company committed $250 million to the formation of Omni Fiber. Cord cutting continues to hit Charter Communications with reports of lower Q1 profit and a loss of 237,000 video subscribers. That's nearly double the losses from last year in the same time period. Internet customers, though, increased by 76,000. On the heels of withdrawing her nomination to be an FCC commissioner, Gigi Sohn this week was announced as the new executive director of the American Association for Public Broadband. The AAPB was established last year to advocate for municipal broadband networks, with a key priority of fighting against laws in some states that restrict municipal networks. In what was the biggest rate of quarterly expansion since the pandemic, U.S. SVOD revenue grew by more than 22% during Q1 to $8.7 billion. The report from Informa-owned research company Omdia showing that Netflix, still the largest SVOD company both domestically and abroad, with a first quarter jump in revenue of 7.7% to $3.6 billion. An unexpected turn in the Diamond Sports Group, Bally Sports, Regional Sports Networks, and Major League Baseball saga. Diamond actually pulled out the wallet and coughed up the Cincinnati Reds' initial 2023 TV rights payment within the 15-day grace period. That kept the Reds from launching their own regional sports network this weekend. And finally, viewership of Super Bowl 57 on Fox was even higher than previously reported. Nielsen initially reported 113 million people watched the Kansas City Chiefs knock off the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35 back on February the 12th of this year. Turns out they undercounted by about 2 million viewers. And the new tally of 115.1 million viewers makes that game the most watched Super Bowl ever. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on This Week in the Broadband Universe.